Hey guys, welcome back to the Friday Vlog, where we discuss activity that goes on here with the BuzzFever channel. That includes things like current events, headlines that are in the news, social media, pop culture, technology, and items of interest that come up during the week that allow us to have a little bit of a dialogue. If this is your first time here to the channel, I'd like to welcome you here. If you are a returning visitor, I want to thank all of you guys for your continued participation here on the channel. In gaming news, this week, Infinity Ward released Season 6 for Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Probably the last of the seasons that we will have in Call of Duty Modern Warfare as we approach the end of the year. And of course, a lot of attention is on the next title, which is Call of Duty Cold War. So I haven't really decided on pre-ordering that game. I may actually wait and get it perhaps later on when it goes on sale. This was my first time playing Call of Duty, so I kind of wanted to test out the waters. And I think I picked a rather good time to participate in Call of Duty because I like the weapons, I like the way they felt, and what they're introducing in this next title is kind of indicative to Call of Duty. And I'm not saying that as a form of criticism. It's just that I just wanted to try out Call of Duty, and this was one where we were going to have the larger scale maps and vehicles in the game. But of course, we're now experiencing that in the free-to-play version, which is Warzone and Plunder. So I will probably continue to play that, and I'll just probably keep Modern Warfare on my system and maybe check it out, and then just play Plunder at times that I want to. But not rushing to get Cold War. Now, starting on Monday, I will be releasing some Civilization 6 videos. I'm very excited about doing that. Of course, I purchased the Frontier Pass with all the additional DLCs, that is downloadable content. So be on the lookout for that. And I think what I'm going to plan on doing is releasing a video on Monday, Wednesdays, and Saturdays, so you guys can check all of those out. But I am very happy to be back playing Civilization 6, and that's going to be your gaming news for this week. Dominating the headlines this week, of course, was the presidential debate on Tuesday between President Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden. If you guys want to check out the video that I covered on Wednesday that kind of goes into some of the more important topics and information, by all means check that out. YouTube, of course, did place limited ads on it at first because I had to mention certain groups, certain organizations that are still sensitive to say here on YouTube. But I was able to get a review, so hopefully it will work out and remain in full clear status. But nonetheless, guys, it was interesting because now that we've had a couple days to kind of go over the data and kind of assess and see what people are saying, I'm actually quite surprised. Now, appearing on the screen right now, this is some of the polls from CBS from the next day, showing what 46% of people believe that Joe Biden had won the debate to Trump's 41%. And then in this next graph, of course, we see that 69% of people were just annoyed. But nonetheless, we kind of anticipated it would be very similar to this. Now, I wasn't expecting it to be this bombastic from the president because he has toned down his demeanor. He's become more measured when he's talking to the media. Sometimes if you watch the press conferences, he's almost whispering when he's responding to their statements in the form of questions. So I found it kind of interesting that he went back to that old school style that he used with Hillary Clinton, and it was obvious that he was trying to do that to rattle Joe Biden, and he actually was successful. However, the main concern, of course, was for the middle-of-the-road fence-sitter undecided voters. We already know that the camps have already made up their minds who they're going to vote for. I have already voted. So the debate itself was really just kind of a marking point to kind of see where we were in this back and forth between the president and Joe Biden, and who could, I guess, could be more convincing for being the president. But of course, we know the President Trump's record because we talk about it here. But talking about things that were discussed, Wallace covered many of the things that we talk about here on the channel. And I remember Tim Pool saying, wow, I wish I would have been there, because a lot of what Wallace was saying were things that what he and I cover. Now, of course, we have the luxury of being able to aggregate news each day, cover it, and listen to our fellow commentators and read the news and see what's going on in social media. The president, of course, is running a country and dealing with the world. So he's not going to have the luxury to see these little nitpick social media battles that go on each and every day, or particular articles that are put out as recently as the New York Times. And I do go into that in the video that you can see up there in the top right-hand corner, because I go into that topic. But what I wanted to add here was critical race theory, right? The president had eliminated critical race theory from what Wallace was asking him. But Wallace said something to the effect of, President Trump, you eliminated the racial sensitivity program or something like that, but it's actually critical race theory. It's important that I mention that here because critical race theory, of course, suggests, and I'm paraphrasing here, suggests that white people have a particular proclivity for abilities and qualities that other people don't. Now, I'm just kind of paraphrasing that. If you want to look up critical race theory, you can see the complete definition of that, and that's what President Trump got rid of. So I wanted to make sure that I pointed that out. Now, of course, some of the other groups that were mentioned there, of course, I can't say again, but as you know, there was an event last Saturday. Everything went very, very well, so I was kind of happy that that worked out. And people kept saying, well, why doesn't the president denounce these particular groups? Well, he had back in August of last year, 2019, CBS News. He came out and officially denounced these particular groups. I will link it below this video if you guys want to check it out. So he's already done it. But these were kind of the stunts that we kind of knew that were going to happen, where we know the rioting is going on. However, if you look at it, and I kept saying this to people when I was kind of going back and forth with some of these people talking about the debate, was that we can clearly see, if we watched Portland Andy, if we keep up with Andy No, we can see who these people are. Andy No posts the Freedom of Information Act releases of people that were arrested, and we can see who they are, and they are not part of these particular groups. These particular groups, in particular, 3 different groups of individuals who, like we saw on Saturday, who we have mentioned here before with a certain person that I can't say his name apparently because that also demonetizes it. But nonetheless, these individuals went out on Saturday, they waved their flags, they had their discussions, they sang their songs, they went to their bar, and they went home, no problem, despite the fact that Ted Wheeler actually called in the National Guard after 100 nights. So my point was this, you know, if you guys can point out where these groups of individuals have done certain things, then by all means point them out. However, predominantly we have seen who the groups are that are spray painting buildings, burning down buildings, shining industrial laser lights into police officers' eyes, using commercial grade and professional grade fireworks, who are harassing people at their homes and threatening them for simply having a flag on their house. So we know who these groups are. These are the actual problems. Sure, if we want to deal with these other groups, we can do that. However, the current groups of people that are causing problems are obvious who they are. However, of course, we have still, you know, this leaning, but it's understandable because we've seen what happened with Rashad Brooks. We've seen what happened, unfortunately, with George Floyd, of course. And so I can understand certain groups of people's concerns, but then we also have the McCloskeys, who weren't approached by these particular groups, but by a certain group of people, right? And these individuals aren't being charged. I think they're getting a criminal trespass charge, but the McCloskeys had to go through this difficult process, right? And but nonetheless, guys, that was what was going on as far as I wanted to mention there. It was interesting because the Latinos actually thought that President Trump had won also. They were in the high 60s. But then I saw this kind of funny tweet from someone who said, well, Latinos talk over each other all the time, so this was kind of normal for us. And I would agree. My mother is Latino, so I can kind of agree with that statement. But nonetheless, guys, by all means, check out that video up there in the top right-hand corner. All right, guys, so that's going to wrap it up for this Friday vlog. Kind of a nice little package of a video for this week. It's been very busy these last 2 weeks, without a doubt. I want to thank you guys for your likes, your shares, and your comments. Your participation here is always appreciated. If you are watching this on DTube and or BitChute, as well as on Parlay, I would ask you guys to give me a follow there as well. And of course, appearing there on the screen for those of us here on YouTube, that would be the channel icon for you guys to click on and subscribe, as well as notifications, because I will be doing those Civ videos coming up next week on Monday, so you guys can check those out. But nonetheless, guys, thank you so much for your continued support, and I will see you guys right there behind the camera next week.